Says I'm not even on stage. Hello, welcome. We're here for the very first episode of Plot Points and Power Ups. It's not even episode 1 technically. This is episode 0 because it's more of a dry run of what we're gonna do ultimately in the long run. And I wanted to not wait anymore. So as little structure as we may face tonight, it's more of just getting into the spirit of the thing and doing the thing, and because that's important. Most of the time it's just sitting down and getting it done. So the main focus right out of the gate is going to be, I mean, we're in the holidays, right? We're in the holiday season. It's Christmas time. It's time for giving. It's time for family. We just got through Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and happy holidays to those who are celebrating Christmas or celebrating whatever holiday cheer that you have to spread around. I am excited. This is a brand new sort of like way to move forward in the content space for me, because I've never fully committed to the idea of movies. And I've talked about movies here and there as things have popped up, but I wanted to make this a focus because there's a way to talk about this stuff and not necessarily be negative all the time. And that's not pointing a finger to anybody. My algorithm, I am guilty of having a very sort of, I don't even want to use the word toxic, because that word is it's just thrown around too much. I want to try to change up the algorithm. And I know some people they want to see something different anyway. So here we go. I've been kind of dabbling in this stuff recently when it comes to movies and talking about them. I've posted a couple things on TikTok, a couple things on YouTube Shorts. I have a video in the works to edit, and the show might evolve into something where more people join the panel. The idea was to have multiple people on talking about it back and forth. That will probably happen closer to early next year, maybe sooner. We don't know. But we'll see. But like I said, it's the very, very first episode, and it's the time of year where we come together, and we come together as family, and we experience the most beautiful time of the year. And what better movie to start with than one of the best movies that I think encapsulates that that experience to the nth degree, perhaps. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It is certainly, I think it's at the top of a lot of people's lists when it comes to like the very best. I've seen people say that it's overrated, which I'm just disappointed by. And not to say the movie's perfect. It's not perfect, but it's funny to see that when people are like, "Oh, I think it's wildly overrated." Like, "Oh, overrated? I don't know about that." National Lampoon movies have always been over the top, and this movie does it beautifully. And Chevy Chase is at the top of his game with this movie. He's on fire. Quick shout out to the people in the chat because we are live today. Mephisto says, I'm heading out the door, driving to work, but I'm listening. Start the show. Shortly after he said, I knew it. It's all staged. It is all staged. Arkasul's here. Episode 0. Let's go. But he can't spell, so that's all right. One of the greatest Christmas movies made. Not perfect, but nails the landing. It's Christmas. It's Christmas comedy with heart. This movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, I think just really nails how well families can be this time of year, especially on the day. I think a lot of us, not everyone, I know not everyone has a giant family to come over and celebrate, but I think this is like the one time of year where you have everyone over. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you have everyone over. You're and it's all people that you might not see, throughout the year. It's a gathering of people who you see once in a while. Sometimes there's some surprises, and they're not always the people that you want to see. And it's a time that you are expecting, end of the year rewards, whether it be Christmas presents or bonuses. So it also encapsulates that side of things very well. Additionally, the lovely Sherry's in the house. Hello, how are you? Great to see you. Moving forward, guys, just a quick. Moving forward, this show will not always be live. So, like I said, this is episode 0 of Plot Points and Power Ups. We finally made it. We finally got here. But it might not always be live. It'll likely be recorded at times, as we can record abundance of content and push it out to you. But these will also go up on our it'll go up on the Plot Points and Power Ups YouTube channel once they're done as well. And if you guys are interested in following that YouTube channel, you can subscribe there. Please feel free to subscribe to that new channel. But there'll be exclusive content over there, and then there will be also just VODs over there. If you feel like just kind of supporting me, I would be appreciative. So I this movie, in my opinion, hey, what's up, King Deplorables? Good to see you, brother. What's happening? This movie was like it was probably the first vacation movie I saw growing up. And I obviously didn't appreciate it until I was a little bit older. But like it was, I think I said it's Chevy Chase at his absolute, like, it's at his peak. Like between Caddyshack and this, it's just that quick wit, sharp tongued, like dad figure, right? Like I think that was one of the things I really enjoyed about him, was that at that time he just sort of encapsulated what I thought was going to be an awesome, like, that's what I wanted my dad to be like, just quick wit and just off the cuff, funny. And then Christmas Vacation it felt way more grounded at times than some of the other ones. I mean, there were some things that were a bit nuts, but Christmas Vacation really solidified Chevy Chase as like one of my favorite actors of all time. But I don't know, it took in some ways, a different spin on Christmas. So I'm glad that it was something I saw at an early age, but something I ended up coming back to several times. Like I've probably seen that movie 10 times now, and I rewatched it this afternoon. But let me pull up my quick little thing here. When they show up and the aunt wrapped the cat, yeah. Like every single person there at that party. Secrets of the Past Parahistory. What's going on? Thank you so much. Hello from Canada, new subscriber here. I appreciate you joining. Thank you for subscribing. Yeah, I'm definitely, guys, throw it in the chat. Like I said, this version of the show is going to be a little bit different, but throw your favorite moments of that show in the chat if you can think of any. Definitely can touch on them. Where is my? Sorry, I'm just looking at my note here. Um, like I thought when it comes to National Lampoon's movies, I thought this. I don't know if I wouldn't call this weaker than. There was many slow points of this movie that I just thought were like there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of him just by himself thinking, but I think like in some ways that made the weaknesses worked into strengths because it was more about Clark and him experiencing the Christmas season. His family was sort of like on the outside, and that just sort of it was almost like a biopic on Clark and who he was and who he was trying to be for his family. And everyone else was just sort of like feeding into that and kind of bringing the different personalities out. And Randy Quaid just being again, this was I think one of Randy Quaid's best parts in a vacation movie. Just so good. Again, his quick wit before he went crazy or before he was enlightened, however you want to look at it, depending on who you are. John D says, I think it really created that feeling of being trapped with your family at the holidays realistic. Yeah. And I think, giving, so one of the things I will say about this movie that one of the things I'll say is I like going out and chopping down a tree. There's nothing better to me. Like I was raised in New England, and what you did was every Christmas season, you went out and you went to your Christmas farm, you chopped it down, you brought the thing, they pulled it through the net, and that's how you did it. Since moving out here, we have a fake tree. It looks real, but it kind of bums me out we don't. So I love that in this movie. Like the first thing that they do is they go out there and like literally in the middle of nowhere. They don't go to a Christmas tree farm. They take it that one step further, and they go out and they chop it down from the middle of the woods. And of course, it's enormous. Um, so it's just a beautiful start. And like even the ride out there, right? Like so he's trying to pass everyone, he's trying to be, big tough dad, and he's not really so much. Like again, this was like it was such a it's such a story about Clark Griswold. Like this is his story. That tree leads to the best part of the movie. Oh yeah. I mean the tree not being it's all dry. The squirrel. My favorite line of this movie. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find. Oh, I can't even because my it doesn't play audio on this browser. There's the little old lady is sitting in I forget who it is, but she's sitting in the chair and she goes, "What's that noise?" And the uncle just goes, shut up. You couldn't hear a truck driving through a nitroglycerin factory." It's the best fucking part. Right before that squirrel rears its ugly head. It's so good. It's so good. Secrets of Past says, I think Christmas Vacation speaks on the isolation within ourselves. And yeah, in part. I think it's partially that. You can even take like a masculine angle to it. In that like a lot of men, this is the time of year to really, do the things that they want to do, provide for their family, give them something a little bit more. They've been working hard all year. There's a lot of different themes playing at once here that I think are really, really awesome, and they're really well done. Juliette Louis Dreyfus was great as the neighbor. Yeah. Yeah. Probably one of my second favorite line is when he's got the tree. He's got the chainsaw in the beginning, and the neighbors come out and goes, "Where are you going to put that tree, Griswold?" And he just says, "Bend over and I'll show you." Like those two lines. Just so good. And again, this is one of the reasons I liked Clark so much, was because it was quick wit, man. I mean, beautiful comedic timing. I mean, this was likely his heyday with cocaine. And I wonder how much of this was ad-libbed by him, while shooting, but it really made me think, I hope some male figure in my life is like this, because this is hilarious. Like, I would love, someone to just, even if they're not being serious, to be able to retort in that way. So it was truly, I mean, this movie from end to end is a masterpiece. And fun fact, if you guys didn't know, fun fact about this movie, his boss is Bill Murray's brother. If you didn't know, now you know. Bring it up for you real quick. Why is this? Oh my God. Wouldn't even call him an antagonist. For some reason, it's bringing him up as an antagonist. But even that, like, they don't look anything alike. They don't. One of the beautiful things about that, I realized too, was even his, I mean, they paint the whole corporate, like, CEO, hey, how you doing? Like, I just, I just want, my wife and I, want to get this for you. And like every single present on the table behind him looks just like Clark's, same size, almost same shape. And like, it's really funny because in a lot of ways, it's a perfect look into like corporate life, but also the what's it called? Like, even the outcome of everything, where Cousin Eddie goes and picks him up, he basically, he comes back and is like, you got some explaining to do, and makes him confess, like, well, I was thinking about, not doing this, but we're trying to pinch pennies, essentially. And this is the simplest ways to do is you cut out bonuses in order for places to make money. And it's not fun, but like, it totally is something that happens in the corporate world. What's up, Gooch? Good to see you, man. Great to see you. Nasmer, I don't care if you stream at 4 a.m. You're not avoiding me. Never. Christmas Vacation is now one of the top 15 highest grossing Christmas movies of all time. Yeah, it's not a surprise to me. The movie is truly great. It's unfortunate that I see that people are saying it's overrated. I don't see it. Even as a National Lampoon's movie, I can't even believe that. Sorry, I did not mean to get philosophized. It's just, I read a lot and analyze things. No, man, you're good. That's what the show is about. It's kind of looking into these things and discussing them. It won't always be a live show, so get your shit in. It cost about $27 million to make, a lot for that time, but grossed $71 million upon release. I believe it. That's a great thing about a movie like that. And like, even National Lampoon's Van Wilder, like, I would imagine the budget on that was very small, but it probably cleaned up. I don't know if it cleaned up in the box office, but it certainly cleaned up on DVD. John D, I've never seen Christmas with the Cranks. I've never seen that. I've been delving into more Christmas movies recently, because I plan on doing, like, in the lead up to Christmas, trying to touch on like a sort of 12 days of Christmas thing. So you'll probably see a lot of Christmas movies discussion coming about here. We're going to talk about some today, but I want to also do a deeper analysis on and discussion about a lot of Christmas movies. Some that are really good, some that are bad, some that are okay. Would I say Christmas Story is similar to Christmas Vacation? Uh, it's a pretty great Christmas movie, if not one of the best. I would say Christmas Story is. It's not similar in. It's similar in greatness, but not in tone. If that's what you're asking, it's yeah, exactly. That's the perfect way of putting it. Is that A Christmas Story is more wholesome than National Lampoon's is definitely a inappropriate adult, comedy, and it shows. But yeah. So like a lot of those deeper themes being, I think there's a lot of masculine undertones in this, patriarchal, if you want to use that word, and just and how you and dealing with, dealing with family at a hard time, a hard time of the year. There's so much going on around Christmas time, and in a lot of ways, Clark is trying to shoulder a lot of that, putting the pool in the backyard, writing a check that he can't really cash, and hoping for that bonus check to come. And then when it doesn't, it's like, fuck, dude, like no matter what I do, I'm here, I'm stuck, I can't get out of this. It's the worst feeling, because a lot of us have been there, man. A lot of us have been there. So I think that's one of one of the deeper themes of this movie. And that's one reason like movies are made much differently nowadays, and they become formulaic. And you see movies like maybe even Christmas for the Cranks, where they're almost like trying to copy what these other movies did, but on a fundamental level they're still flawed, because they're missing the almost like these small character studies of the different people. And that's what made these movies like really, really good, was the complexity. Even if it is a mindless comedy in some way, like there is depth to Clark in a very silly way. I mean, he's very silly, but there is depth to him in all this. What's up, Madhouse? Madhouse Retro is here on all three platforms. He's on YouTube. He's over on Rumble, and this motherfucker's over on Twitch. Appreciate you, dude. Make sure you slap that like button wherever you are. And I would say like a lot of like this movie in general probably had a huge impact on comedy in general. Like these National Lampoons, in my eyes, just they like these were comedies that really like knew how to make money. And I would venture to guess that the world needs these kind of comedies again. These like sort of raunchy, inappropriate, like against the grain comedy. Like the world needs another Tropic Thunder, because we all laugh at this stuff. We all laugh. It's funny. Real people aren't offended by this shit. Secret says, I can relate to Clark Griswold in terms of just retreating within oneself around this time, if that makes sense. Yeah, I can. I for sure can see that. And it's not, and even in this case, like I don't even think he necessarily retreats within himself in this movie, but there are moments where I think I mean, maybe it is, but he's definitely contemplating like how hard he works, and like the difficulty of this time, and like what it takes to be a good father, son, husband, like all that. And all that stuff is layered in this movie, to one extent or another. Again, a lot of silliness, a lot of like masculinity in here that that they even play with, and it's fucking phenomenal. There's an island of trash floating in the ocean. Oh, and even a son-in-law. Yeah. A quick sidebar. Did you know that this is like a kind of a myth? It's not really an island of floating trash. Like there's plastic in the ocean, but it's not nearly as bad as they make it out to be. I read a whole thing on it. Pretty wild. Um, yeah, I would venture to guess that this is for sure one of the best. One of the best. I mean, and holiday movies are interesting too. Holiday movies are interesting because there's some that that sort of take on this wholesome, like it's a wholesome Christmas story about a time for giving, a time for being with family. There's always the comedic side, sort of slapstick, like Home Alone style. I mean, a lot of them sort of weave in between them, and I would say like Christmas Vacation, Home Alone movies, like Christmas with the Cranks, like those all are weaving in between this sort of like humor and wholesome values. There's Elf. Yeah, Elf's another one that's like super silly, but has a lot of like a deep family, masculine, patriarchal things that they're really discussing and leaning into. Um, it's really interesting. And like again, all of these movies do a tremendous job at telling both sides. They're good at being silly, but also creating that depth and talking and discussing these themes that so many people can relate to and connect with on a very, very human level. You know, like even with like kids identifying with like Kevin McAllister and just wanting to be that person. Die Hard and Lethal Weapon are great Christmas movies. Hey, amen. I didn't know that Lethal Weapon was a Christmas movie, but Die Hard, yes. I really want to do a silly video on how Die Hard 2 is the better Christmas movie. Um, but that's a video for another day. But yes, Die Hard is it's not someone I saw someone tweeted at me or said my Discord the other day. It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off Nakatomi Plaza, and chef's kiss. Batman Returns is a excellent Christmas movie. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I want to hear your favorite Christmas movies in chat. Whoever's here, wherever you are watching, listening, tell me in the comments, tell me in the chat, what is your favorite Christmas movie? Because like there's so many good ones out there. There's a lot of sleepers out there that I think some people will mention to me, and I'm like, oh shit, like, all right, all right. Um, yeah, real quick back to Violent Night. You know, someone said Violent Night to me the other day, and I thought, that's good. This is a good one to start off with because this isn't necessarily a great Christmas movie, but it's fun and like it's something to enjoy. Like I equate stuff like this, and I was even, my video for Red One, which is going to be coming out soon. Like Red One, I equated a lot to what's that movie? Jingle All the Way. There's not a whole lot of depth to Jingle All the Way. Like they're really trying in it, but Arnold Schwarzenegger really struggles with like heart, I think. And I don't like the kid who was his son. He played Anakin Skywalker. I can't remember the kid's name. I don't particularly like him. And then Rita Wilson was the mom. There was just no chemistry with the family. And like the best part of that movie was Phil Hartman, hands down. Phil Hartman was the peak of Jingle All the Way. So Red One, I was like comparing to that because it's fun. It's definitely a fun Christmas movie, but it was about as deep as a teaspoon, deep as a puddle. What I said. So like I said, like this movie, Christmas Vacation, has a fair amount of depth to it, about a lot of deep themes that they discuss, all while being silly and funny, and it's Christmas time. Perfect backdrop for a lot of this stuff. Fred Claus, I have not seen. I'll be honest. Fred Claus, I've not seen. That's the one with Vince Vaughn, right? Santa's brother. I have not seen that one. I'll throw it on the list. Um, I really, I mean, really, to sort of like kind of wrap up my thoughts on Christmas Vacation is like I like I there's parts of this movie that I thought was that dragged a little bit, and I was like, this meh. Like the pacing was slightly off at times. Like a lot of the, and maybe this is a hot take of the movie, I don't know, but there's just a lot of like him like putting the lights up, and I understood like that whole thing, but like again, if you're gonna like if you wanted to nitpick this movie on it, like the things that happen, like when he gets stuck in the attic, like he totally could have been like, hey, what are you doing? Stop. But instead he like was like quiet and mute. Um, again, I know things sometimes need to happen, especially in comedies, and I don't want to nitpick this to death, but if I were to criticize or like give my hot take on this particular comedy and like what was kind of like at times, it was those things. He could have like yelled out to his family, pounded on the ground. There's people still in the house. You know, just kind of how and like anyone who's ever like worked on a roof or like messed with gutters or something, like when he slips and like slips off the roof and grabs the gutter, he would have ripped that thing right off the house and fallen 20 feet. Like, sorry, that ain't holding up a 180-pound man. The part where he's trapped in the attic watching the old movies doesn't make sense until you get older. No, it does. It does make sense. It does make sense. I just thought like him getting trapped up there was silly, and it was totally hilarious when he's sitting up there eating. I'm sorry, eating, watching the film and crying, and then his wife pulls the cord down, and then he falls. That was, I mean, I laugh out loud almost every time. Well, and that's the thing too, is like you really, when you have to start reaching for things to complain about in a movie, and maybe that's the difference with a lot of things, especially here, is that watching Christmas Vacation, like there's not a whole lot of points where you're like, wait, what? Like you're just watching it all the way through. There's not, the pacing isn't so bad that it like stops you and then you're thinking about what's going wrong. It does continue. It does flow. But again, I've seen this movie several times now, and now like again, if you're watching it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, you start noticing things you didn't notice before, and then it like so again, this is me nitpicking. This is me being critical, giving a hot take. Um, so, John, did he really get stuck, or did he purposely lock himself in there just to make us think he got trapped? You could say that. He does look kind of alarmed when the thing is the his mom or his aunt there is pushing up uh the door. He doesn't really try and help you when he is like hitting the thing. You could make the argument that he wanted to get stuck up there, because one of the things he did say in the beginning when everyone like first comes in the house is like, oh, he says to his wife, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go outside for the season. Like he knows that everyone being there is going to be a disaster, so he like wants to exit, and that is one of the most like man things you could possibly do. Like all of us at one point or another have used like, I gotta go out here to do something, and then you go outside and you end up, or you go somewhere else in the house and you're doing work for an extended period of time just so you can like have 10, 15 minutes of silence or hours of silence. Like there's a lot of guys out there, I'm sure, who mow their lawn not because they want to, but because it's like the 2, 3 hours a day or a week that they can like genuinely have like by themselves to listen to a book, to listen to music, to not be bothered. It's a Zen thing. And it was one of the first things I picked up on this last watch through. Was like, oh, I see what he's doing as a dad, as a as a husband. I get it. And hosting bigger functions. It's the difference between watching a movie at home versus watching it in the theater back in the day. Yeah, this is another important point. I want to hold this comment up here. It's one of the things that really people should really this is an important point to make regardless. And I've said it the past few times I've been streaming is when people go to a movie, when people go watch a movie for the first time in a theater, first impressions are everything, right? Like that's really where you get like that's where people really almost decide like, hey, this is a great movie or not. There's very few I think that make it past those first impressions that are good that and like turn better later. Like you have those like weird cult classics like The Big Lebowski that are they do much better after the fact. Like Grandma's Boy did terrible in the theaters and wasn't received well, but then on DVD it killed. Same thing with like The Big Lebowski. That movie made all its money back and then some on DVD. Uh, so, but people go with their instinct a lot of times with movies, and the way that a lot of people break down movies nowadays is after seeing them two or three, sometimes four times, and that's like it. It's a fair analysis if you're really breaking it down. Like I guess if you're literally EFAPing the movie, like you almost have to do it that way. But I think by and large, like people will trust the reviews from someone who has seen it once or twice, and that's it. Because a lot of people, that whatever they're seeing the first time, like they're not going to replay that for months or sometimes years after. And a lot of people won't notice the sort of nitpicky things that film critics will. And I would argue that sometimes film critics will ruin an experience because they're so nitpicky on it. Oh, well, didn't you notice blah, 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 blah. It's one of my biggest criticisms was something like Red One, because when I see that movie, like I'm laughing out loud in the theater. I'm not a stupid person. Like the movie was genuinely fun and funny at times. And to like see people like totally disparage the movie as like garbage or, you know, nothing good about it, like it makes me think the only reason you're saying that is because you think that that's what people want to hear. Like, yeah, Dwayne Johnson might not be a spectacular actor, but he has chemistry with people. And because of that, he can play a good character sometimes. And I would argue, if you want to go down this like quick tangent road, his best work is absolutely Ballers. Like the show Ballers, he was fantastic in. So, and this, like, you just got to be silly sometimes. You got to be silly and fun and intense. That's what happens. Don't mean to get way off track onto Red One, but we're talking Christmas movies, so. But let's talk about some other. We'll talk about a couple other like my like list, my like top list of movies. Krabby Patty, what's up, dude? The critic's job is to nitpick the movie. They can't ruin the movie as they had nothing to do with making it. This is true. You're not wrong here. You're not wrong. I guess here's my point. Here's how I'll break it down. I want people, as a dad, as a person who wishes to change culture in some positive way, whether that's through movie commentary or political commentary, whatever it might be, I want people to have fun. And I think a lot of critics have lost the fun aspect of movies. And I think that much to the detriment of the everyday movie goer. There's been a couple movies recently that I've said, "Oh, I heard this movie wasn't very good" from people who are reviewing it. And then I went and watched it and was surprised that it was the exact opposite. Everything that they were saying, like some of it made sense, but other parts I was like, wow, this wasn't horrible. Like the way I was hearing, like, oh, you shouldn't even go see this. Like I see a lot of things that others see like out of spite because I have kids and I bring my kids to it just for another eye, So it's always weird. So that's the impression I get. So I hope that, and I can't force anyone to do anything. So how I'm trying to approach a lot of these is to have the knowledge of what is really, really bad about something, but also like you got to focus on both things. So like have all that bad stuff in there, but also focusing on the good stuff and how those two might play with each other. I do get your point. A fun, dumb movie nitpicked for 9 hours by EFAP crew would make it less enjoyable. And here's all I'm saying. I'm not picking on the EFAP crew at all. They do good work, and it's for a completely niche, different audience. Yeah. So like I was also drawing the corollary to something like like Red One, like Jingle All the Way. Like there's some really bad aspects of those movies, but there's just some dumb fun also to them, which I want people to enjoy. I want people to enjoy those things. Cause like laugh, cause it is worth watching. Like, again, because we're talking about Christmas movies and all that, like Red One is totally worth seeing. And I think I've said this, I haven't seen it, my video says it. Go see it at a matinee or a $5 night. It's a perfect time to see it on the big screen, or wait for streaming. You shouldn't neglect this movie. It's not that bad. It's fun. It's fun. It's like a buddy cop funny. It's not going to win any awards by any stretch. No way. But that's not the point. I think it's part of the reason the movie was made. It was like knowing that this isn't going to make we're not going to get any awards for this, but people will enjoy it for years to come. I think. I love to make my own option. I think he meant opinion about movies, but also love telling people my opinion to them as well. Yeah. Blade Runner 2049 was like that for me. It did awful and people don't like it, but I love it. Yeah. The thing about that movie is I've heard the very same thing. I've heard people really enjoy it. They really enjoyed the story it told in sort of how it, kind of completed the arc. And I've heard other people say it was just a total waste of time. It didn't do anything different. So it depends on who you talk to. And this is the point too. It's one of the reasons I want to do this show is to sort of get into how we need to go back to understanding film, television, video games. They're all an art form. So whether you like it or not, there is a subjective element to a lot of these things. I always use the example of when we go to the Museum of Modern Art in New York. My wife loves going to the Frida Kahlo section and she bawls her eyes out every time. It has nothing to do, like I can't do that, but there is a connection that she has with that artwork that she loves. And I'm not going to take that away. I'm not going to say, well, that's shit. Some lady with a mustache, who cares? Like, no, there's something there. There's something different that I don't see. And the same thing happens in Final Fantasy VII. Some people will look at that video game and go, that is the best piece of storytelling that I've seen in any sort of game, especially up until that point. It was pushing the boundaries on the hardware of the PlayStation, yada, yada, yada. And other people look at that and go, that was boring. I don't care. The quest sucked. The end. Like, I don't care. I'm telling you, man, the Final Fantasy audience is totally split on Final Fantasy VII. Some people love it. Some people fucking hate it. But again, you're talking about an art form, moving pictures, motion pictures. These situations, right? Like some people will not resonate with something like with the Christmas Vacation. Other people will look at it and go, wow, I totally understand that. Like that family experience. Some people don't have a family experience. They don't care about it. They might look at that and go, I've never had that, so I don't really know. Or some people might look at that and cry because they wish they had it. It's what makes like great movies so good when different audiences can look at them and say, wow, that's a timeless story. Because even as someone who doesn't have any, you know, I have no way of connecting with that person, but the story, the person in there, like it could be me, or I have felt something similar. I get it. I can connect. You know, just like, I mean, there's so many different things when you look at something like the Terminator. There's 3 characters in there that you can like identify with as like, oh, I want to be that. You could be Kyle Reese, the savior, human. I'm human. The Terminator. I'm just this badass fucking machine. No one's gonna stop me. I ain't saying shit to anyone. I'm just going there and mowing people down. Or Sarah Connor. And even farther than that, like Sarah Connor in the second one. You don't have to be a chick to connect and like. You could totally be a guy and be like, oh, you know, that I wish I could be that savior, that person that was just going there and mess stuff up. So there's like there's a dimension to filmmaking that in some respects I feel people are like losing focus on. You know, I know people don't like to hear like, oh, it's a subjective art form, you know, but it is art. Art is subjective. Whether you think it's a cop out answer or not, you're not going to get everyone on your side. And like, you know, screaming at people or, you know, I think talking down to them in audiences is not the way to, you know, bring people over. There's a lot of good stuff out there that we can learn from, and, you know, and really understanding how to get back to good storytelling. Cat's being weird. Sarah Connor was the reluctant hero. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, in the first one, absolutely. Not so much in the second one. The second one, she was in it to win it. But Sarah Connor was absolutely the reluctant hero in the first one. Okay. What are we thinking here? My top holiday movies are there's such a wide array of them, but overall my 5 favorites that I would say I watch multiple times a year. Well, I'm going to give you 6. Home Alone. Home Alone 2 is like, it's in parentheses there because we just kind of watch them both. The Polar Express, Christmas Vacation, Die Hard, The Family Stone, which is like my wife's all-time favorite Christmas movie. And because she watched it, I watch it. And it's a great film. And then It's a Wonderful Life. Like, these are just staples in my yearly rotation. They need to be watched. There was something off about how quickly she went along with the Terminator that has been haunting her the past 12 years or something in the second one. Yeah. Well, she wasn't very trusting though. I will give her that. Arthur Christmas is good for a holiday animated. Yep. And you know, and I don't want to not to be cliche, but you know, all of those claymation movies, most notably like, oh man, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, The Year Without Santa, like those 2 are like pretty solid. The Nightmare Before Christmas is an interesting one because it really walks the line between Christmas and Halloween. It's so fantastically done, right? Like you can watch it at Halloween time, you watch it at Christmas time. With me if you want to live. Okay, we're friends now. I think, you know what I think the only reason this worked in that movie The only reason this worked in that movie was because John was there. Like that like him being there and being unharmed with that boy or with him was the only reason that she left with him. How did Harry Potter become a Christmas movie? When did that? No. What? Someone told me Lethal Weapon was a Christmas movie the same way Die Hard is. No. Someone said that in chat, but I don't believe it. Bad Santa. Someone brought up Bad Santa. That's another good one, but it's not I mean, Christmas. Yeah, but yeah, you don't watch that movie because it's a Christmas movie. At least I don't think so. So there's an interesting one. I want to do a video on it. Home Sweet Home Alone is a such an unfortunate movie because it was actually written by John Hughes before he died, and it had a really interesting premise to it. No, I'm sorry. The premise was awful. The motivation was like the movie existed because of like one line, and the motivation to get them to this place to like break into this house was so contrived it like hurt. But the interesting part of the script to me was that you had this boy who stole a doll from this family, and then the doll ended up being worth like $200,000, something like that. So Rob Delaney and his wife, I forget her name for that actress's name, they know where the boy lives. They look up the name because they both the mom and the son like say their name out loud for whatever reason, and they track down this boy's house, and while they're in the house, they basically say, we need to steal this little fat boy so we can sell him for a lot of money. And the little boy, who's this fat little boy, hears that, and then it becomes the whole setup for the movie because they call the doll a fat boy or a fat-faced boy. From that point on, but the connection though, I think this is like the part that like John Hughes had part in was he was essentially writing a follow-up to like Home Alone and Home Alone 2, where this was far in the future. Buzz is now a cop and Kevin McAllister makes home security systems. And so Buzz is actually in the movie, the actor who plays Buzz. And you think it's just like sort of a throwaway character, like, oh, okay, this is a Home Alone movie, but he's here. And he's sitting in his car and he talks about, he's on the phone or he's on the radio. And it's like, oh, that the call you just got is a fake. I was just talking to the parents. My brother Kevin was left home twice during Christmas time, and he always pranks everyone nowadays, and he makes security systems and blah blah blah. So there was this interesting parallel that they were drawing, and I almost thought that Macaulay Culkin was going to make an appearance in this movie, but he never did. The movie itself is it's so bad. The traps are bad. The whole premise is bad, but there was a script that John Hughes wrote in there that had the beginnings of something that could have been great, but because ultimately he wasn't around, like, who cares? Like there's nothing charming about it. Other, like occasionally the Home Alone theme would play. So but yeah, sorry, that was a long-winded talk about Home Sweet Home Alone. The really Home Sweet Home Alone, there's no reason to see it. That movie is genuinely bad. It is a waste of time. It is not any sort of top movie, any sort of top movie for Christmas to watch. People are going to clown me over this one, but what I'll say, Love Actually is a very, very excellent Christmas movie. Take that for whatever you want, clown me, make fun of me for the rest of the life, but Love Actually, if you really want to be honest with yourself, is a fun. All those stories sort of interlocking each other the way they do. Um, it is an absolute masterpiece. No, I wouldn't say masterpiece. It's a very well done movie. Has a lot of heart. You know, good Christmas flick. You heard me, King. Shax has turned into a girl. Look at, I didn't say this, but bro just went nuts. Thank you, Madhouse, for getting me off the hook. I love it. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not? Go. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. The question is, which is the better Christmas movie, Die Hard or Die Hard 2? I would argue that Die Hard 2 is the better, more complete Christmas movie. That's easy. That's easy. Anyone arguing against Die Hard being a Christmas movie is an idiot. They're dumb. It is through and through. Die Hard 2 is the better Christmas movie. I love Die Hard 2. Die Hard 2, in my opinion, is so underrated. It is fucking phenomenal. Die Hard 2 is not talked about nearly enough. And we're going to talk about it this year. I'm telling you. It's on my list. Die Hard 2 is a fantastic movie that is overlooked constantly. Everyone likes talking about Die Hard, Nakatomi Plaza, Hans Gruber, blah, 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 blah. They like talking about Die Hard with a Vengeance, Die Hard 3 or whatever. Everyone loves talking about that. Nobody talks about Die Hard 2 ever. And when I bring it up, people are like, "Oh, you know what the fuck you're talking about? Nakatomi Plaza, fucking bleh." Nope. Sorry. Matt says, "No kidding. I think it's incredible, well written movie. The way they are, they're able to film 10 plus flashbacks and still make it very apparent the difference in years was great. The casting was on point." Yeah, I know. I knew what you meant by that. Yeah, and honestly, like Christmas movies are some of the this is like my favorite time of year, right? Like if you're not into like the Christmas season, like it's just a bummer. It's a total bummer. Because there's so many good things. Like I understand people have different experiences around this time of year. Some people don't have the family, so they're not, like family shit doesn't mean anything to them. But there's just something about the energy in the air. Like all these movies, like all these Christmas movies are so fucking good. They're amazing. An era in time when they actually cared about the production. Oh, for sure. The problem nowadays, in my opinion, is like there's so many places to get movies that it's just about getting that out. Just fill the air with content. And so many of these different, like Amazon and all these other places, they're making their money. They're making their money elsewhere, and they're able to like do these projects as like passion projects, and it doesn't matter if they lose money on them. Have you ever put on a Christmas movie outside the holidays? It just doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't. There's very few that operate outside of Christmas well. Like you can watch Die Hard not Christmas time, but these like a lot of these ones like you can't put on Santa Claus is Coming to Town in June. That doesn't make any sense. And yeah, the exception is Nightmare Before Christmas. I agree here. I can watch this in October, September, October. Absolutely. As soon as those leaves turn, as soon as it gets down to like, 40 degrees in the evening, that bitch is going on. Christmas with the Cranks was very good movie. Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis in that one. Yeah. I haven't seen Christmas with the Cranks, but I've heard as much. And I like Tim Allen. Charlie Nuclear is here. Welcome, brother. Good to see you, man. Always great to see your nuclear ass here. There's another one that doesn't get talked about enough. I know people know it, and I know it's held like up there as one of the better ones. but the Santa Claus is like everybody at some point watched that movie and was just like it was just like they were glued to the TV. At one point or another, we put that on every single year and we watched it. And again, another great movie because it was about Christmas, but it was about family. It was about, you know, a divorcee that was, you know, he was alone and he was all like, again, it's derivative in that like very like It's a Wonderful Life type of approach, like Christmas Carol kind of approach where like the only thing that matters is career and money and all that. But at the end of it all, like like there's not a better person because in his heart he was a family man and he wanted a relationship with his kids and he wanted to give other kids this experience. And sometimes we need these like huge moments to jostle us out and realize like that is not important. The material thing's not important. It's about your kids. It's about your time at home. It's about everyone else. All three worked because they had all the same actors in each. Which one are you talking about? Are we talking? Oh, are you talking about the Santa Claus? A Merry Freaking Christmas with Robin Williams and Joel McHale is another lesser known great movie. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one. Yeah, Santa Claus. Okay. Yeah, man. And I think they have a series that was like a limited series that they did. Uh, I didn't really like it though because his original son Charlie like was sort of like gone, and then he had another son with like the real Mrs. Claus that was around. It was very strange. I don't know, or maybe that was a movie. I only saw the first two, but I was like, wait, where's Charlie? Like, why isn't Charlie around anymore? Or like a version of him. It's just this other kid, the step kid, or he's not the step kid, but yeah, maybe it was a TV show because I saw a couple episodes and I was like, what am I watching? Okay. All right. Um, yeah, and Elf is one, Elf is always up there. I know people like my wife loves Elf and it's fun. I have trouble nowadays like continually watching it because again, if I'm gonna nitpick, uh I can only take so much of Will Ferrell screaming. Like I like maybe it's just me, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think Will Ferrell is like suited for a lot of roles, but some of them are just like, well, you're playing the same thing, and like, stop the screaming, like, stop the man baby. You know what I mean? Like that. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh my god, it's just too much sometimes. So Elf is one that like I'll watch, but I'm not like, oh my god, it's Christmas time to watch Elf. You know, I know that can be a hot take with a lot of people because some people simp for that movie. I know a lot of people who just like go nuts for that. Yeah, they do play it endlessly. Yeah, it's on TV a lot. Uh there's so many. My little brother used to watch that on repeat, so I can't stand it. Yeah. Step Brothers level of comedy fits Will's personality and humor. Yeah. Um my favorite Will Ferrell movie, and this is another like underrated, not talked about enough film, is The Other Guys. Like The Other Guys is like next level hilarity. Like buddy cop just like so like over the top, but it just works in ways that um like I don't know. It's so good. What's the CGI Polar Express movie? The Polar Express? Yeah, that was unfortunate. I mean, it's just the movie itself is really good. It's just it's the unfortunate, like, it didn't age well because CGI was like that was like pushing the limits of CGI when they did that, like like using Tom Hanks the way it did, um with a bunch of kids we never know their name. Yeah, yeah, it's a very very interesting. It's a like it's one of those movies you don't know anyone's name. The only other the other movie I've seen that has done that successfully is 12 Angry Men. There's no names in that movie. It's juror 1 through 12. That's the most depressing Christmas movie I've watched as a kid. But it like that movie is terrific, and that's a movie I watch every year. It's terrific because like it's more than anything, I think it's just about the preservation of the Christmas spirit, right? About not losing faith in what it means every year to one believe in it all, but like to be able to lead people and to be humble and all that. It's such a fantastic film. Like I really really like uh the Polar Express. It's a beautiful. You mean it's a wonderful life? It's a beautiful life. I thought we were going to uh see Joy talk toys unboxing of gifts, Santa going around be happy. Instead, it's kids being failures. Krabby, we need to have a segment where we poorly describe movies. I think that's what we have to do. A whole segment of poorly describing movies, or maybe like our expectations of them. An irritated. How could we poorly describe the Polar Express? Um, a bratty a bratty 9-year old struggling to believe in Santa, all while interrupting everyone else's experience with Santa. um, and to be annoyed the by continual singing and disaster after disaster, only to be picked as the kid to get the first gift of Christmas. Children kidnapped from their bedroom by a psychotic train conductor and brought to the Arctic Circle. A ticket guy traumatizing kids being taken away from home. Yep. Yes. Yes. Maybe that's a segment we do, is like maybe the segments in the like moving forward is that like I'll put on like the topics of future episodes, and you guys can put in Discord, you guys could put in um your bad description of movies, and I can try and guess them. Or maybe you guys, maybe like, yeah, something like that. That would be fun. Jan Corson over on Twitch. Hi, how are you? I'm doing well. How are you, sir? Or Mrs., whichever you may be. In what world would Santa let kids ride on top of a Tokyo drifting train to retrieve a worthless ticket? It's true. How awful that man is. Like, can you imagine if Santa knew what that conductor was putting those kids through? You did what, sir? I don't care if you are running late, you psychotic bastard. And the fucking ghost from Christmas Past or whatever the hell that thing was. There is a movie out on Netflix called Klaus. I'm sure it's pronounced Claus, but um I was pleasantly surprised at how much I was enjoying it. I've only seen about 2/3 of it, and I really liked it. It's a bit of a convoluted like origin story to Santa, but I definitely want to finish it because it's I've seen it ranked really high on people's lists of really good Christmas movies. Yeah, it's about the postal man. Yep. So he delivers letters. He's basically this spoiled like young adult whose dad owns like the postal service essentially. And the dad's like, okay, you've lived off us long enough. You're going to this remote island that no one wants to work at, and you're going to be the postman there. And he goes there, and it's like two factioning families like fighting against each other. Like they don't mix, they don't talk, nothing. They've been at war with each other for centuries. And he discovers this guy who's like a toy maker, and through some roundabout way, he ends up like making money to like makes money from these kids like a penny at a time, and they're giving him letters to bring to the toy maker, and the toy maker brings the toys that they want to their homes, and like the whole story unravels like basically the origin of Santa Claus. It's really really cool what I've seen so far, but it's not your typical like this is how Santa Claus comes to be. But it is an animated movie, really cool animation, art style. I really, really, I like how it looks a lot. A lot. A couple movies that are not on lists that I see all the time are the Christmas Chronicle movies with Kurt Russell. Like hello, those movies are really good. Christmas Chronicles were good. Like they're fun. They're not like again, it's not like an Oscar-winning movie, but they're good Christmas movies. And I can't think of it. Kurt Russell plays an awesome Santa Claus. Really cool dude. So I don't know why it doesn't work, but I don't know. If you guys are I don't know who's around or if you're just joining again, but let me know what your favorite Christmas movie is, because I would love to comment on it. Gotta go. I'm starting a new job tomorrow. Ah man, you be good, dude. Thanks, Charlie. Thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate you always. Officer Wolf over on Twitch says one Christmas movie I don't see much anymore is the Muppets Christmas Carol. Yeah. Oh, Muppets Christmas Carol, or there's another one too, isn't there? Isn't there? I think there's a Muppets Christmas Carol, and then there's also like a Muppets like Christmas movie, right? Maybe Mel Gibson. Yeah, what was that one? What the hell was that one called? Wasn't it called like Old One or something like that? No, what was that one called? Fat Man. Fat Man. My bad. Not Old One. Fat Man. A very merry Muppet Christmas movie. Yeah. A Muppet Christmas Carol was really good too. But yeah, no, the like a lot of those movies you just don't hear about much anymore. Scrooged is another one that I plan on like diving deeper into, because I haven't seen that movie in probably 15 years. Scrooged is another one. Santa Claus the movie with Dudley Moore, I don't remember. Rocky McCobb, what's going on? Did we cover Home Alone yet? We have not really deep dived into Home Alone yet. No, Home Alone is an absolute classic when it comes to movies. What's so great about what's so great about Home Alone is like all of those characters. I mean, besides Harry and Marv, are intelligent, smart, like people. They're just like they're stuck in really crappy situations. They make some bad choices, but like they're not dumb. Like Kevin's not dumb. He's a kid. He's scared at times, but he plays that character so well. His mom, like not like she's you could make the argument that she's neglectful, but she's not dumb. Yeah, distracted, like hectic, like crazy. And even what's even better is like that movie does such they do this thing where even in the short amount of time that you meet them all, you learn like almost what every single person in that family is and like what their character is like. Every single person. You like learn their name and you learn who they are in the first like 15, 20 minutes of that movie. Remarkable for how big that family is. Like nowadays you don't. And the perfect corollary I can draw there is that Home Sweet Home Alone from 2021, I think it was. They have this giant family. You don't know any of them. You don't even know who the dad is in that movie. Yeah, it's pretty. Yes, it's absolutely pretty irresponsible. But you're able to again the pacing of the movie allows you to, you know, suspend reality in a reasonable way. For starters, it's unfortunate that Home Alone, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, doesn't translate over to modern times. Yeah, I think Home Alone does a little bit better than Ferris Bueller, but yes, I agree. But yeah, Home Alone, like you have a bunch of like fairly competent people that are, you know, they're all put into these extraordinary circumstances and they're trying to, you know, get back to them. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying now. So it doesn't age well in like the social media age. Like there's no way that you could possibly really like leave someone home alone nowadays. Like they would if you called the police nowadays and said I need a wellness check on my kid, they would basically kick your door in to like make sure the kid wasn't there. And then they would find a way to arrest you once you got home. Like there wouldn't be this all like, oh, never mind. Yeah, and everyone has smartphones. So the only way they got around that in the new one, the Home Sweet Home Alone, so they go to like Japan or something like that, is so the kid isn't able to access the home like station, like access the internet basically because the parents block it. They don't have a home phone because who has home phones nowadays, and he doesn't have a cell phone. But he's smart enough to set up all these traps, but he's not smart enough to set up like to go to the library and use the internet there, like email his mom or something. It's weird. But yeah, like that was another thing I did notice about these movies oftentimes is that they don't age well in that technology just sort of thwarts all of that. Like it was totally possible to leave your kid behind and not see them for like 3 days because you know everyone's gone for the holiday. Like everyone goes away for Christmas. You know, the couple days leading up to Christmas. Totally understandable. You know, so why would there be anyone around? The only part that like one of the parts that I was really critical of though was the wellness check thing. If you like if a cop was sent over and like no one answered the door, they would probably find a way to get into the house and like, you know, or they would just keep banging. They wouldn't just leave saying, "Oh, that's just a prank call." Like, "Oh, there's no one here. They're fine." You know, like Rocky McCobb says, I mainly think that that it's funny that in the first movie, Harry Marv stopped caring about stealing anything and focused entirely on. Well, actually, in the first one, they weren't interested in I think they were interested in maiming him. Like it was the second one that they really wanted to like kill him. Like they even like they had a gun. Yeah, and I think if that had happened, it would have maybe been a crime of passion at that point. But the again, the overly critical person in me would have said basically like, why are these idiots continuing to go through all of these traps and not learning? Like, why are they going this route? And then even more so, like, how could a boy, like, yes, I guess he's covering all his contingencies here, but like, and more so in the second one, like when Marv goes up to the top of the stairs, opens, like after he gets the staples in his nuts and his butt, like after he opens the door, like he kicks the door open and he's looking straight ahead, but there's a hole in the floor that's like the diameter. It has like a 15-foot diameter. You're telling me that guy didn't see a hole straight in front? Like, come on now. Like I'm having trouble here. My issue with Home Alone, even back then, is that Kevin was such a nuisance that there's no way they didn't realize he wasn't around for longer than 10 minutes. Here's my rebuttal to that. I hear you. I acknowledge you. I see you. But it was so crazy that morning. They were so late. The mom, well, and this is the magic of filmmaking. Maybe you're right here. The magic of filmmaking is all these cuts and everything, especially in the airport. The airport's where they would have noticed it. Like getting away from the house, it makes sense that they didn't catch him there. Like they counted, she counted everyone. Everyone's trying to get in the van, pull away. Once they're at the airport, though, you would have noticed for sure. The only way they cover their ass in that situation, though, is they throw Kevin's ticket out in the beginning. If you notice, when the milk spills, they grab his ticket, throw it in the garbage. So that there is how they sort of account for like, oh, we didn't know because we didn't pass his ticket to him directly. But you got to be careful, though, King, because this is where you ruin really great movies. Home Alone is beautifully paced, and this is why you glance over this detail. Most people just glance over that detail because of good editing. There's not a bunch of filler discussion or talk at the airport when you get there. It's just, oh my God, it's chaotic. We're going. The next thing you see is everyone sitting on the plane. She's like, oh my God, like, oh, so much. And the same thing in the second one. Like Kevin, he gets on the plane and doesn't look for anyone else in his family. He just sees his dad standing there, never sees his face. No one on the plane checks his face. And then he puts the headphones on, which covers, it covers all the sound. So he can't hear the announcements to where they're going. The guy he's sitting with is French. So when he says, hey, how, you ever go to Miami or something? And he just starts talking to him in another language. It's like, oh, okay, well, he can't talk with the person in the seat either. This is how we correct all that stuff and how we cover it. But it's still there, which is, it's impressive that they sort of thought out these contingencies a little bit and kind of threw something in. Home Alone wouldn't work today with us all having cell phones. It's likely it would be much, much more difficult to accomplish that. But again, I'll say for those who are just kind of joining and listening, the suspension of disbelief works in cases where there's good writing, to bridge the gaps, and also good editing. So there's not this like weird downtime of like, hey, I have time to think about like what's happening and why. Like, okay, they're standing in the terminal now. Like, why isn't anyone looking around for everyone? Even if it is chaotic, like airports aren't that slow even then, or it's not that quick to get through an airport. Even then, you had to like stop. Like, do a couple things, and you probably had to wait to get through security. Or not even just security, but like you have to like wait to like get in line, and you punch your ticket, and if you're smart, the mom is like waiting for everyone to get on, and then they get on, or the dad, blah blah blah. So, but you don't want to ruin movies this good, right? You don't want to ruin movies this good because they're entertaining, they're fun, and they genuinely are some of the best out there. And John Hughes is a master. John Hughes is a master. Was a master. Trains, Planes, and Automobiles is another movie that wouldn't work in the cell phone world. Yeah. I didn't watch this one this season. I do need to watch it again because it's another classic. Isn't it? And it's John Hughes as well, isn't it? Right. Am I wrong? Yep, John Hughes. John Hughes was doing everything back in the day. You just saw it for the first time. Oh, brother, it's such a. I wish I can go back and watch that movie again for the first time. John Candy was like, he delivered his monologue about like his life and his wife and everything was just one of the most heartbreaking moments. And like you can like see in his eyes like how much he's acting his ass off in that segment. Like he is, and from what I understood from hearing like some of the background on that, like that whole monologue, a lot of that monologue was like cut down. Because there was a lot more to it. And yeah, Steve Martin in that movie was just fantastic. I mean, there was no one better for that role than those two. Hit the whole rental car thing with that woman, the red-haired woman. Oh my god. I remember because I saw that movie when I was like younger. I was probably 11, 12 maybe. So seeing that for the first time then, oh my, I was laughing so hard. So hard. There's Christmas time is amazing for so many reasons. And one of those reasons is just the superior like films that are out there. And it's unfortunate that like a lot of these movies just don't feel the same not in Christmas time. Which is unfortunate. I mean, you could totally watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. I don't fucking care. For fucking wheels and a steering wheel. I want a fucking car now. Well, I'm sorry. Why? Because you're fucked. Too good, man. The movie is just, like I said, superior writing. John Hughes was like, he just knew how to write like wholesome comedies. I guess John Hughes was like, he wrote dramedies is what he wrote. I mean, it's really what they were. Like, let me look at his filmography real quick. Well, so the ones he's known for, like his top, basically, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, The Breakfast Club, and Weird Science. Like, oh, and Beethoven. He did Beethoven. Oh, never mind. Home Alone. Yeah, Beethoven was another one of his. Flubber. He wrote Home Alone 3. That's unfortunate. Yeah, he wrote Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. I'm surprised that only has 5.7 on IMDb. That doesn't seem right. So he wrote Beethoven, but it was as Edmond Dantes. Interesting. Oh, he wrote Dutch, bro. Dutch is another isn't Dutch is a Thanksgiving movie. It's a holiday movie, but it's a good one. Dutch is really, really good. Ferris Bueller, Pretty in Pink, Weird Science, European Vacation, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles. Dude, this guy is he's a legend, an absolute legend. Flubber I watched maybe twice, but barely remember. Yeah. Yep. He was 59. It was like cancer, I think, that took him, wasn't it? Pretty sure. If Mephisto was here, he could tell me. He wrote as the guy from The Count of Monte Cristo. Heart attack. Okay. Yeah, I mean this guy wrote some of the most famous comedies of all time. Like it's not even close. It's not even close. I do have to go back and watch Weird Science. It's been a minute. Uncle Buck is another one. Like it's just something that, like, if you haven't seen Uncle Buck, it's one that you need to see before you die. Another film that this is another it's another holiday movie. I don't know if I would necessarily call it Christmas. It's in the winter time, but it certainly is. It just shows the strain in family sometimes, and family resentments of siblings and all that. And but kind of coming together again, a coming of age story where, the older sibling is independent. They feel like they're in charge. They need to they should have their own independence. And then a man child who hasn't really grown up, and this situation is like sort of forces them to be something bigger than they are. And it's a theme through a lot of his work. And I can't respect him any more than that. Like that's what we're losing. That's what we're losing in film. And if it, like, to break it down even further, I would say it's we're losing we're losing the ability to hold the mirror up to ourselves and realize, like, we're the problem, and to, like, make fun of ourselves. Because that's what a lot of these movies did, especially his. Like, they turned the mirror on us and, like, exaggerating, like who we are as people. And, like, one of the very, very best examples of that is the Breakfast Club, right? You have, like, these are the nerd, the stoner, the jock, the weirdo, princess, the prom queen. Like, these are all people that we know exist, and the tropes are taken just a bit far. And, the principal, the same thing. Like, all of these people are taken to their, and even in that movie, it's not necessarily the extreme, but you are seeing again a reflection of who a lot of us are or were at some point or another, and they're true. They're like real character studies of these people. But again, at the end of the day, it kind of harkens back to, like, the need to be, like, to work through those differences and be better. I just realized that's the template for Cabin in the Woods. Yes. But we live in a truly, like, we don't get movies like this anymore. A lot of these, unfortunately, we're not seeing them made in this light. And I think that's not necessarily by design. It's because we're in this cycle of content. Some people will, we at some point we will have someone who's able to write in this way again, but we're just sort of in that downturn. And I think it'll come back up, and people will realize this isn't what people want to see anymore. We don't want to see, like, don't mistake what I'm saying. Like, there's you can have a direct reflection. You can have a reflection of real life without being told it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you guys understand, but for those who might see this after the fact, let me see if I can. Is there a way to put a thing in here? I forget. There's a control B. No. There used to be a way to leave a bookmark in here, and I don't remember how. Maybe it. Right now, when it comes to like writing, whether it be in video games or movies or television, a lot of what you're seeing is this is what reality looks like, and you're being told that this is reality. So they're telling you, I am this person, I am doing a thing. Whereas in these movies, like let's just take a John Hughes movie, for example, like we're just talking about The Breakfast Club. You're seeing a very, very direct reflection of what what a detention would look like in a high school in this time. But you're not being told anything. You're being shown how these people interact and how they genuinely do interact in the real world. But you're not being told like, oh, hey, I'm this guy and I'm doing a thing. Like, oh, you're just this, and that's why, because you're, like there's not like this underlying hatred for like these, like the characters aren't like breaking the fourth wall to the audience. I'm about to cut up a cool Ninja Turtle drawing to make filters for my smokes. Nice. Games today think we want to see ourselves in characters we don't. We want to be someone outside of ourselves. Yeah, and again, like even in movies, like these movies do a thing like they're able to show you like, hey, this is the person. This is the kind of person. And you can like, but it's not that thing. It's not them talking to you through the movie and we talked at, that's what I've been trying to, but that's how it goes nowadays. Unfortunately, it's a lot of what's been going on. It's a lot of what's been going on. There's a lot of hope out there, man. I don't want people to ever think that we're not going to get something good again. We will. You got to take the good with the bad. This is something I'll say to people all the time that like work for me. You have to take the good with the bad. Not every job's going to be a winner. You're not going to always make $20,000 in a job. Some days you're going to make 1,000, 500, 200, 2,500. You do the little stuff to get the big stuff. And right now we're in the little stuff period. We're getting the small, little kind of crumbs with the occasional big meal. There will come a time where we get a bunch of bangers. We'll find that person, that writer, filmmaker who's putting out like constant conduct. And you do have some, like Christopher Nolan is someone who basically puts out a banger every single time. Say what you want about his style. You don't have to like it, but he puts out really good movies. You can tell he cares in everything he does. He puts a lot of heart into, a lot of work. And to that end, you can't take that away from him. The only place reward comes from before work is the dictionary. Not every movie was a Home Alone. That's true. It's very true. No, we have a lot of good stuff coming. We have a lot of great stuff coming. Next year, the Dogman movie's coming out. Hello, who's excited for Dogman? Oh shit! Excuse me. So, in a nutshell, guys, this is essentially, you guys have been a part of episode 0 of Plot Points and Power Ups. This is the kind of stuff we're going to do week after week. I want to talk movies. I want to get into big character studies. I want to get into, I want to focus on things on a more minutia level, if that makes sense. No movie is going to compare to the next 4 years. You're probably right, John. You're probably right. Um, so if you guys enjoyed tonight, like I would love some feedback. If you're willing to give me feedback on how things went tonight, you could let me know now. You can join the Discord and you can tell people, you could tell me in there through a DM or just in general chat or in the discussions. I would love to know like how you guys felt about the show. It's this is going to be like a big passion project for me because I I want to talk movies. I want people to enjoy movies again, and I want people to enjoy games again, and I don't want them to just hyper fixate on things that are bad. There is some bad stuff out there, but some of it is still enjoyable. But one of the big things that Criticalist does on their website, criticalist.com, is you can review a movie over there and you could write a scathing review, but they also have an entertainment scale. So you can rate a movie poorly on a lot of different things, but also rate it really high on the entertainment value. Like this is really entertaining and fun, but not such a great, like, you know. Have a list of characters or movies you want to discuss so we can watch the movies you're going to talk about. I'll definitely do that. I'll definitely keep a running list. The best way to do all of this, I could post it on the YouTube like community board, but the best way to follow along with that will be to join Discord. So if you guys are interested in kind of keeping up with the stuff that I'm going to do and you want to also follow along, I will absolutely put that in Discord for you guys to have access to. And I will edit that as I go along. Yeah, I agree. The having the entertainment slider is a really important part. It's one of the reasons I really enjoy them. So criticalist.com, guys, get over there. There is a lot of bad. Yes, there are a lot of bad. I can absolutely do this Krabby Patty. I think it's a great idea. I'm going to drop a link. I'm definitely going to drop a link to Discord again for those who are not around, who are not in Discord yet, and would like to be and would like to stay up on this. I will post. I'll definitely post something in general chat that will direct people over to the proper area, and then we can. I can kind of give you a rundown of where things are going, like the schedule of things, and what I'll be discussing. Even if it's just on the calendar too, like there's the event calendar on there, but. Mephisto, what's up, man? Glad our talk motivated you. Be consistent as much as possible and enjoy yourself. That's the plan. At the very least, you guys can expect a Wednesday. It's going to be a Wednesday show discussing this stuff. If it's not live, it will be a pre-recorded premiere that you can watch, and I will be in chat and I'll be answering questions. And then we might do a post show for subscribers, sorry, for members. I'm thinking of throwing that in there, is doing a post show with members only, because I want to continue to give incentive to people to support me on a monthly basis, and also even if it's like through like super chat, if those who super chat and want to join, they can do it that way as well. You like a lot of bad movies, dude? I mean, who doesn't? If you don't like at least a handful of bad movies, are you really watching anything? maybe hot take. Bad movies are okay. We won't like everything, but our reaction to bad movies doesn't always have to be woke. This comment here is exactly why I'm doing my review of Red One. It's not to say that it is anything amazing. It's not to say that it's going to win every award and it's going to be a cult classic forever. It's just to say sometimes bad movies are really fun to enjoy, and you should enjoy them because it's okay to laugh. And sometimes movies do bring the best out in bad actors, if that makes sense. I don't think for a second that Dwayne Johnson is like an A-list actor. Um, but he's really good at the buddy cop like comedy, and that movie, like similar to like Central Intelligence, like that was funny because him and Kevin Hart are like playing off each other and they have good comedic timing. Same thing with Red One. Him and Chris Evans just vibe really well together, and you will laugh out loud unless for some reason you have a bad head injury, I guess. Um, Sometimes they're boring and I just hate them. Yeah. No, I get it. Like again, there's bad movies that people like all the time. Um, but yeah, you don't always just have to like hate movies because your favorite creator said to. That's boring. Skyscraper, I never saw that one. Walking Tall was an okay movie. Honestly, if you want to see The Rock in like a really good performance, go watch Ballers. Ballers is a fantastic show. Like the first 3 seasons are 4 seasons, I think, are very solid. The 5th season was kind of weird as I remember it. But dude, he is really good in that. I want to see Skyscraper. Never seen it. I saw, was it San Andreas? Oh man, that was rough. My wife loves San Andreas. I agree. Ballers is one of the few things I don't uh, think uh, plays as the Rock in it. Yeah, yeah. But even if he did, like honestly, I'll disagree with you there. I think that he plays the Rock, but it fits the character. Like I think that's who he is, or who he can be. Because I mean, there's moments where I think he's like a super cool dude in there, and I think there's parts in there where he's like super scum, and I kind of feel like that could be him in real life too. So, bravo to him for the great acting. I just have to believe, like I still haven't seen Crank. I love Statham, and it looks like fun trash. Yeah, Crank is fun trash, is what it is. There's nothing great about Crank. That Crank was at the height of Jason Statham's like we want him in everything. Like the Transporter hit off really well, and then he just started putting out these like action junkie movies like that, um, which there's always a time and a place for it. Yeah, there's no real substance to it. Again, at one point he's like, oh, I got to keep my heart rate up, so he's just banging Amy Smart in the street. You're like, cool, I guess. Like, sweet. And the answer to turning the tide uh, isn't to resort to the same tactics that brought us to the woke to begin with. Yeah, totally. I don't even see the comment. The problem with woke is that it affected an entire generation of people. We will continue to see the woke trash for years to come. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think people are waking up to the fact that that movie is trash, regardless of normal people look at a lot of those movies and go, "This is awful. Like it's not good." Again, I'm not convinced that the stuff I see on Twitter is an accurate representation of what people actually believe. The thing about Twitter you have to remember is both in our sphere, like all critical spheres, whether it's us or the woke or whatever, is that that stuff is recycled so much that it makes you believe that this is what by and large people think. But I don't believe for a second that people look at that and go, oh, like, yeah, Wicked, I think is the perfect example of it, is like those interviews. Like, I think people are looking at that going like, what is happening? Like, all right. Yeah, those Wicked interviews were rough. Like your movie, for all intents and purposes, is like a success. What are you crying about? How did this turn into something like only people who manufacture their problems like would do something like that. It's not a real thing. It's fun to criticize and call out the quote unquote woke, but don't just call it woke and then go further and explain what makes or breaks the films. Yep. Wicked interviews convinced me that girls are weird. Yeah. There's a really good, like, I don't even know, it wasn't Freedom Cartoons, but someone made a cartoon with her and Ariana Grande. Like it looked like a South Park skit almost. It was so weird and uncomfortable. Just about privilege and gay privilege and all that. You got woke and you got bad, you got trash bad. Woke doesn't have to be bad, but it's clear a political agenda being pushed. Yeah, and and if I'm gonna be honest, I think it's failing. The problem is a lot of stuff you're seeing now coming out has been in the pipeline for so long that um but a lot of that stuff is being filtered out. And for better or for worse, a lot of these DEI like programs departments are being dismantled because they realize it's just not a viable strategy. People don't want to lose money. I mean, nobody wants to lose money. Black Cyber, they again, is that an Amazon or is it HBO? I forget. We was wizards and shit. If you want to inject your political agenda, it's better to be subtle. I mean, that's how you do it. I mean, it's not even all messaging when it's well done is subtle. Like uppercutting someone in the face is not like it's an effective way to knock someone out, but not necessarily to like send a message to them because then they're asleep. Like great storytelling applies to so many people. House of Dragons seems to have made it work somewhat. I don't know. I'm not gonna like the Harry Potter project is it's remaking all the Harry Potters, basically, the whole story again in a TV show form. Which, you know, that's a lot. I don't know if I'll watch that. I mean, I might because my kids will probably by the time it actually comes out, my kids will probably be old enough to watch it. But like, Jesus. If the original Lord of the Rings was re-released exactly the same, but everyone is a different race just for inclusion, it would be woke, but also remain the greatest movies of all time. Yeah, that's why I'm saying like when like the word woke doesn't even necessarily mean anything. I mean, it would just be it would just be casting for inclusion. That's all. Casting for inclusion, but yeah, that's actually called the Rings of Power. No, but I think what he's saying, John, is that if all the story beats were still the same, it would still be a great movie. You would just have just different people. Because I mean, again, that's what a great writing. It doesn't matter what your character looks like. It like who the fuck? But it was oh God. There's been. I mean, there's no shortage of actors and actresses that are men, women, black, white, Asian that have played amazing roles, and no one said shit about it. Like if the Lord of the Rings movies are made today in the very same style, or if they're made in the very same dialogue and action, all the beats, but some of them happen to be black and white and midgets and whatever, like it wouldn't matter because those story beats and everything else was amazing. It doesn't matter who you put in those roles. If you made Saruman, like a Asian dude or something, old Asian dude, who cares? Like it doesn't matter because the writing is great. I don't know who you'd put in there, an old Asian dude, but Then why change it? Stick to what the book describes them. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for like keeping people what they are. Especially when you read all those things, you know? Like when you read those books and you're like, oh, I know what these characters look like. Oh, wait, that's not what they look like. Yeah, I would no, King, you're totally right. Like, you're totally right. I mean, this is 100% a fact. It would be hard to let go of, and like, so this is the problem with initial criticisms over this stuff, is that the problem with the internet now is that if they advertise tomorrow, and they even came out and said, we're not changing anything, we're just like, we're going to redo this, and we're going to align a lot of this casting with like the Rings of Power. So we're gonna have different elf like skin tones and all that. Like there's gonna be elves that are black and brown and all that, and disabled, but they did everything else the same, and they just mixed up. People would go nuts and they would say it's woke, it's awful. They would say every bad thing about it, and then when it came out and it turned out good, it would be like, oh, well, we were wrong, I guess. It's like, or they would somehow find a way to double down on it even more. I don't know. Story is greater than everything. If that is the point, I agree 100%. Yeah. They eventually get over that, but the book says they're what? Yeah. Yep. Am I still coming in, guys? Am I still here? Let me know if it says but I'm seeing that my router is like not on. So my Discord just went dark. Okay, I'm here. Well, this is going to be a bit longer than what I would normally do. We're looking at keeping the show around an hour and a half to make it more easily digestible by people who are listening. But I really enjoyed tonight, and I'm planning on. I'll keep you guys apprised of the schedule on what we're talking about, characters that we'll focus on, so you guys can follow along. I'm happy to do that if that's something that people are interested in. You guys can even have discussions in Discord. I always encourage that. I could be a part of that too. Sometimes I will talk more there than I do on Twitter or anything else, just because we're trying to build a community of fun, game-loving people, movie-loving people, all that sort of thing. Thanks, John. I really appreciate it, man. And Krabby, I always love that you like counter me on stuff. I think it's great. I love that you're here doing that. It's one of the reasons I love doing live streams, is I know you're going to pop in, you're going to give me a little pushback, and keep me rolling. What I am going to do after this is I am going to reset my router. I am going to go live on Twitch again in a little bit. I'm going to play some video games over there for a bit. So if you want to hang out, I'll probably hop in Discord. If you want to hang out while I play video games, that's totally fine too. But I'll be over on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheShagsworth. And you can join me there. Join me in Discord. Hang out, whatever you want to do. King says, I hope we can get together on a show sooner than later. End of the year, holidays and whatnot is just a wild timing. No, for sure, man. I'm doing this to sort of get my own feet going. And when I say I'm going to do something, I just got to do it. I wasn't 100% prepared tonight, but it went better than I expected. So that's why we're continuing. So anyways, guys, I really appreciate you. It's been a lot of fun. That's it for episode 0 of Plot Points and Power-Ups. Expect more great things in the future. It's been great. Y'all be good. Y'all enjoy your holidays. Join Discord, hang out, be a part of the discussion. We'll see you guys next time.
I like to put stuff online.